Dr. Daniel Jackson is an expert in ancient Egypt, but nobody takes him seriously. With some conclusions that contradict established ideas, his theories are received with disdain and mockery. Until one day, when he's approached by a rich lady named Catherine Langford. She has a job for him as a translator of ancient hieroglyphs.
Interesting.
Not revealing much about the project, she says this is his chance to prove his theories are right. Miles away from them, another recruitment is taking place. Colonel Jack O'Neill, who recently lost his son in a tragic accident, is visited by two officers with a message from General West. They say O'Neill has been reactivated. A few days later, Dr. Jackson arrives at the military installation where the secret project is underway. Catherine shows him a spectacular set of Egyptian cover stones found in 1928 by her father. Dr. Gary Myers has been working on the inscriptions, but some are in an unknown language. Jackson immediately starts to make corrections, and the new text mentions a Stargate. Then, just when Jackson is wondering why the military's involved, Colonel O'Neill arrives. He'll be taking over from now on, and he makes sure that all classified information is shared on a need-to-know basis. 2 weeks later, Jackson is running out of inspiration when the astrology section in the newspaper seems to catch his eye. Comparing it side by side with the cover stones, Jackson makes that eureka face which normally comes with a discovery. Not too long afterwards, a room filled with military people is ready for Jackson's presentation, including General West himself. Jackson says the pictograms can't be translated because they're not text. They represent constellations. 6 symbols are arranged as map, while the 7th indicates the point of origin.
6 points.
Dr. Myers says there are only 6 in total, but Jackson was able to find the missing piece, a drawing of a beaming pyramid. Impressed by that, General West decides to share some of that classified information. Jackson's given access to something else that they found with the cover stones. It's a giant rotating ring made of a mineral unlike any other. Scientists are conducting tests, and when they insert the 7th symbol, a swirling vortex is opened. Lieutenant Kowalski gives the order and a probe goes in, sending back astonishing information. The readings indicate the Stargate is a shortcut to a planet on the other side of the universe. It has the same atmosphere as ours and a similar gate. Jackson is excited at the possibility of sending humans there, but the general isn't that optimistic. He shows him some images of the other gate and the inscriptions are not the same. What if they send in a bunch of guys and nobody can crack the code to dial home? Jackson says he can do it, and General West says he's on the team. Catherine gives Jackson her medallion with the symbol of Ra, the Egyptian god of the sun. Hopefully it'll bring him good luck. Once the team's ready, O'Neill is the first one to cross the portal, and then all of them go through one by one. They're taken through the wormhole at an incredible speed. Finally landing, they split into teams to explore the area. They're in a building that looks like a temple. When they find an exit, the blue sky above their heads is very similar to ours, except for the 3 moons, of course. O'Neill tells Jackson to work on the pictograms and the others to collect samples. He says they all have 1 hour before going back to Earth. Jackson goes like, "Hey buddy, there's no Google Maps, you know." The only way he could decode the Earth gate was by using the cover stones as a cheat sheet. So that means they need to find similar cover stones on this side, or get used to 3 moons. Overhearing the conversation, Kowalski is more than ready to punch that nerd. But O'Neill tells him to cut it out. Addressing the whole squad, he gives them new orders: set up camp and organize supplies. Lieutenant Ferretti sides with Kowalski in his indignation, but the other men try to be more positive. If they take too long to return, General West will make someone open the damn thing from their side, surely. Ferretti explains to them that it doesn't work that way. In order to cross it, the Stargate must be open from your side. So the little positivity they had succumbs with that information. While O'Neill sets up a complex electronic device inside the temple, Jackson's trying to escape the general bullying with a bar of chocolate. That's when he sees something on the sand that looks awfully like paw prints. Just like a dumb kid following a butterfly into certain doom, Jackson doesn't even tell anyone where he's going. On the other side of that dune, he finds a camel-like creature. The animal's wearing a harness, so it must have been domesticated. Jackson tries to win its affection with some of the chocolate, and it's going pretty well, until the other men get curious and start to shout advice. The creature is startled by that and runs away. Caught by a rope noose, Jackson gets dragged across the dunes. Surely now these guys must be so happy to see what kind of genius is in charge of getting them back to Earth. When they finally catch up, the animal is drooling all over his face. But no one's paying attention to the alien camel anymore. They're much more interested in a bunch of alien people who are concentrated around a large tent nearby. It's not long before the attention is mutual and a native boy points a finger at them, shouting. Now everyone's staring at the 4 Earthlings atop the sandhill. It's quickly decided, among the other 3, that Jackson will be the one responsible for establishing communication. The native aliens get an older man, who looks like some kind of authority there, to talk to the visitors. Jackson says hi to the man, because, why not? It turns out it makes no difference. The man spots the medallion on his chest. Recognizing the symbol of Ra, he shouts something to his people. All of them immediately kneel in reverence before Jackson. O'Neill wants to know what the hell he said to them, but Jackson's just as lost. The natives go get their leader, a man named Kasif. He seems to be here to welcome the visitors, but also determine whether or not this is a friendly visit. Some kind of beverage is offered to our guys and they try it. It seems drinkable. In return, Jackson offers a bar of chocolate. Kasif has one bite and all his doubts are gone. These guys are friends for sure. He invites them to go with him. O'Neill and Kowalski are a little suspicious, but Brown says he's detecting stones of the same material as the Stargate. This is their best shot at finding the cover stones to decode this side of the Stargate. So they radio base camp and tell them to keep that area secured until they're back. Following Kasif, they climb over a dune and reach the city. When they get to the center courtyard, a giant plate is revealed. All the natives kneel before the symbol, which Jackson recognizes as the Eye of Ra. It's the exact same image as his medallion. These people probably believe our boys have been sent by the gods. Then a loud horn is heard and everyone gets busy all of a sudden. Kasif gives the order to close the massive doors. There's a huge sandstorm coming, but the town seems to be fully prepared. We can't say the same about Freddy and the others back at base camp. Totally caught by surprise, they try to radio O'Neill for instructions, but no one can really hear anything, so they're forced to get back inside the temple and wait. In the town, Kasif is having a feast in honor of their god-sent guests. Kowalski prefers not to eat anything, but Jackson says that could be offensive. In fact, Kasif does look eager to please them with their culinary. Jackson says it tastes like chicken. He even imitates one to make sure everyone gets it. Not at all touched by such beautiful cultural interchange, O'Neill tells Jackson to use other Egyptian symbols to see if they know more and maybe lead them to the cover stones they need. But when Jackson starts to draw symbols on the sand, Kasif gets upset and a little afraid. Writing is not really their thing here, but Kasif has no intention to let such small things get in the way of a solid friendship. Not with these wonderful people who have chocolate. To lighten things up, he puts Jackson in the hands of a group of ladies who scrub him vigorously until he's clean. Now he's ready to meet the beautiful Shauri. She is Kasif's daughter, and also all he has to offer in exchange for chocolate. Jackson's a gentleman and refuses the gift, of course, but he pretends to accept it when he realizes a refusal could get Shauri in trouble. So they close the curtains and start killing time, until she draws a familiar symbol on the sand. Jackson asks her to show him where she had seen it before. While he starts to follow her, very strange things are happening to the other guys. The storm keeps getting worse and worse outside, and then a growing tremor starts to rattle their equipment. That's because a pyramid-shaped spaceship is landing on top of the temple. In merciful ignorance about that, Freddy and the others split up to investigate. It doesn't take long at all until they're taken down one by one. Before blacking out, Freddy gets to have a look at what's attacking them. Meanwhile, O'Neill is enduring some attempts at friendship by a boy named Skara. He is Kasif's son, and he's just mesmerized by the lighter. O'Neill says he can have it, so the boy goes off to impress the whole village with it. Then O'Neill tries to ask where Jackson went, but ends up in a crazy Simon Says with the natives. Skara finally gets it and imitates a chicken just like Jackson did before. That's it. We're looking for Chicken Man. He has the camel-like animal track him by the smell of his vest. They find Jackson and Shauri reading the walls of an inner chamber. It's the story of Ra. His very advanced alien civilization had to flee their dying planet and look for life elsewhere. Ra was lucky enough to find 2 planets where the primitive humans took him for a god and obeyed him blindly. They were just perfect for his needs. Everything went well until a rebellion broke out on Earth and their Stargate was buried. To avoid the same thing here, Ra decided to outlaw reading and writing, preventing the people from learning about how it all started. In that same chamber, Kowalski finds the cover stones they're looking for and gets Jackson to look at them. Sadly, he has bad news. The seventh symbol is worn off and Jackson says he can't decipher the Stargate without it. O'Neill decides to take his men back to base camp. Getting there, they are very surprised at the pyramidal spacecraft that wasn't there before. Skara and other native boys have followed them all the way here, and they're now trying to look through the windows as the men go in. Brown and Kowalski are soon attacked, just like the other ones. At the Stargate, O'Neill is not happy to see that something is missing from that equipment he was setting up before. Jackson starts to ask about it, but then the alien troops show up. They have high-tech guns and speak in a distorted voice. Jackson and O'Neill are taken to Ra and forced to kneel before him. A couple of servants bring in what was missing from O'Neill's stuff. Jackson is furious to see it's a nuclear bomb. Then the two guards, Unibus and Horus, remove their headgear and we see they're just human too. Ra does the same and he's pretty much a teenage boy in funny clothes. O'Neill seizes one of their high-tech guns and tries to overpower them but fails. And Jackson ends up getting hit while trying to keep the peace. Leaning over his body, Ra is pleased to find some of his own merchandise around the victim's neck. O'Neill gets thrown in a pit, but the good news is that Ferretti and all the others are there too. To punish them for being in cahoots with Earthling invaders, Ra sends his drones to terrorize and destroy the city. Kasif tells his son that they shouldn't have helped the strangers. And speaking of helping strangers, that medallion brought much more luck to Jackson than expected. Ra decides to give him another chance and puts him in a medical device that looks like a sarcophagus. Jackson comes out of that as good as new. But of course that was not out of Ra's kindness. He wants Jackson to take part in a public demonstration, showing the natives on that planet that Ra is their only god. And about the bomb, the plan now is to send it back to Earth, enhanced with alien minerals for further devastation. Ra says he created Earth and it's time to destroy it. Word is sent that Ra wants to gather everyone in front of his spaceship. Skara goes to get his sister Shauri, but she says no. The girl has tasted revolution now. She tells the boy they can go if they want to, but first he wants to tell them a story, the true story of their people. At the public gathering, the prisoners are lined up and waiting for execution. But Jackson takes the weapon and comes closer. Skara uses the lighter to get his attention. He shows him that the boys have the guns they took from base camp and they're ready to fight back now. Jackson turns around and fires at Ra. He misses, but the distraction's enough to help the others escape, while the boys start shooting upwards to increase the chaos. With the help of dozens of native kids, the men make it to a cave where they can take shelter and rest. Kowalski's happy to see so many young boys willing to lend them a hand, but O'Neill is in a grumpy mood. He says the kids must go back to their village. Jackson takes the opportunity to tell everyone about the bomb, so O'Neill is forced to tell the truth. His actual orders are to blow up the Stargate on this side so that no threat can reach Earth. The plan was to send them all back with the samples while he would stay behind and get the job done. In the spaceship, Ra is mad that the intruders escaped. Horus and Anubis swear they have looked everywhere. Some of the natives must be helping them, while Ra starts frying some of his own soldiers just to show how upset he is. The vibe inside the rebel cave is very different. Jackson hears a boy call him husband, and then Shauri apologizes. It was too embarrassing to tell everyone that he didn't want her. Jackson makes sure to correct that very wrong idea of hers, while the giggling boys close the curtains. Skara starts to draw on the cave walls, illustrating their victory over Ra. Coming out of the improvised nuptial chambers, Jackson is now inspired enough to work out the missing symbol from that doodle. The next morning, the rebels blend into the rest of the natives. When O'Neill fries one of the guards, Kasif sees that with horror. Everyone is afraid of being punished by the gods. But then Jackson shows him something. These guys, they're no gods, they're just people. They've been using their flashy tech to enslave other people. It's nothing but a trick. Meanwhile, two soldiers are taking the bomb to the Stargate. Some of the villagers enter the temple and the guards check for rebels in disguise. As they do find them, a fierce battle starts. To prevent the bomb from reaching Earth, O'Neill sets it to go off in 7 minutes. Shauri gets hit in the confrontation and Jackson takes her to the resurrecting device. Once she's recovered, they try to leave, but Ra gets to them. He starts to fry Jackson too. While fighting one of his guards, O'Neill accidentally activates the transporter rings, which ends up saving Jackson and Shauri by sucking them out of the spaceship and back to the gate room. Outnumbered and running out of ammo, the rebels decide to surrender. They're getting ready for the punishment when Kasif appears on the top of the dunes, leading the entire population of natives against Ra's forces. Arrogant as he may be, Ra is not that dumb. He realizes it's time to retreat. As the spaceship starts to take off, O'Neill and Jackson have the same idea. They can still activate the transporter rings, so they use them to send Ra one last little token of human devotion. The whole planet rejoices at the massive explosion. The Stargate is then successfully opened, but Jackson decides not to cross it. He's someone's husband now. And this is the end. This was a recap of the 1994 movie Stargate by Studio Canal, starring James Spader and Kurt Russell. So what do you think of Jackson's decision? Was he too impulsive and blinded by love? Or was it a great opportunity he was smart not to miss? Let us know in the comments below with #CinemaRecap. Until next time.